All relationships begin and end with self-love. The key thing about that is, do you know what self-love is? I think we have to start. We have to start to build. Because I think if we're going to build this idea of relationships, and we're going to get it at a point, we've really got to build a foundation. We've got to have a strong foundation from which we can build from. If we don't have a strong foundation to build from, then everything I talk about will have no value whatsoever. So I'm going to start off with the foundation, and the first question we've got to ask, and this is the most difficult question in the world, is who am I? Because if I'm going to have a foundation, if I'm going to have a relationship and I'm part of that, do you think it's important if I know who I am? Because until I know who I am, how am I going to be involved with another? So there's two aspects that I've come to understand about who I am. There's the big Lee, and then there's the little Lee. So I'm going to start with the big Lee. One of the things that we talk about at Agape is that there's only one leap of faith that you have to make at Agape. And we believe that this is the only thing that you have to buy into. This is the only leap of faith. We believe that everything else will logically flow from this, and that is there's only one. It is infinite, it is all-knowing, it is everywhere present, it has always been, it always will be. It has created everything out of itself, and therefore everything is an expression of itself. Call it God, call it universal mind, call it anything you want, but there is this infiniteness that is greater than us. If we understand and we make that leap of faith, then it's really easy to answer the question of who am I? Well, I am a point. I am a unique individualization of the divine consciousness that is expressing itself. So I am not this physical body. This is not all that I am. I am not just all these thoughts, but I am a unique, individualized, whole and perfect, infinite expression of the one. Because if I am connected to the infinite, then there's an aspect of me that has no bounds. The other aspect is when I'm connected to the infinite, I am not bound by past precedent. I am free to recreate in any moment. Now that gives me freedom. They say that when you know the truth will set you free. That's the truth you want to know. The truth you want to know is that you are the individualization. You are the oneness. You are the unique expression, and you are not bound by anything or anyone. So that's the big Lee. So Lee is a whole and perfect and unique expression of God. And there is nothing that Lee has to change. There is nothing wrong with Lee. I know you all want to tell me about everything that's wrong with me. You want to tell me, well, if you want to be this great minister, you want to be a better this, you got opinions. Guess what? I don't care. I just don't care. Because the universal, the big Lee, is perfect. Now I want to bring you to the other Lee. That's the Lee you see in front of you right now. That's the Lee that has this form, this skin, this body that's all around him. That's the Lee that you hear talking to you right now. That's the Lee that you watch acting or interacting with others. That's the Lee who teaches. That's the Lee who does that and that type of thing. That Lee, too, is unlimited to the degree of the beliefs that he has about himself. Do you see? If I am a whole and unique and perfect expression of the infinite, then I get to choose how I want to play in this world. The question I ask you is, do you know how you want to play? Do you know why you're here? That's really a good question. Why are you here? Only you know. Only you know. Because there's something inside of you that is unique to you, that's desiring to be expressed in every moment, that's desiring to be a part of life in itself. It's desiring to come forth from you, and when you do it, there is no time, there is no space, there is no limitation. You want to do it. You can go all night researching it, expressing it. You can do all these things and never tire. When you are doing what you love, which is yours, which is unique, it is who you are. Now you get to choose that. And I go back, and I've talked about this many times, it's based on what are your top values? What are the things that are the most important to you that make you unique? Now, I'm not going to explore how to figure out your values in this talk. We've got a workshop coming on August 28th if you want to figure that out. But it's about once you can identify those 5 top values, the things that most matter most to you in this world. What matters to me is spiritual self-actualization, the experience and expression of love, the experience of wholeness, the experience of oneness. That is my number 1 value. My number 2 value is to speak and teach about how to better self-love through conscious living. I love doing that. If you can't tell that, please leave. The third one is I love building community. I love connecting people. I love being in relationship with people. I love creating a space where people can come together and support and grow each other. My 4th value is I love health and wellness. I'm becoming even more fanatical in my health and wellness. Why? Because in this earthly plane, this physical body is what I get to experience it with. Now, why wouldn't I want to experience it in all of its grandeur, in all of its bliss, without any limitation? And my 5th value is to be financially independent so I can do anything I want, when I want, without relying on anyone. Now, do you see those values? I've linked them all in with each other. And having linked my values in, guess what? If you want me to do something that's against my values, it'll never get done. Because I've committed my life to those values. I've committed myself to them. So I really don't care what anyone says. And that's how we have to go through life. When we've identified our values, we don't go out and say, well, I can't do that because it's my value. No, you just gently and lovingly let people go in and out of your life. You only bring people in that are there for what purpose? And see, this is the final point today. The final point today is, what is a relationship? Because if you know who you are and you know why you're here, then you've got to say, okay, what's the next thing that's got to come into place? Well, then relationships, because we're all a part of the one and we're all interacting. So why do we have relationships? To make me whole? Certainly not that. To have fun? Well, I like having fun. To please you? No. For you to please me? No. You see, we got this all mixed up. If you go to the Bible and you listen to the Bible and the Bible says you got to worship God. Wait a second. Think about that. Pretend you're not a monkey in a cage and you're not pre-programmed. Think about there's an infinite power, an infinite presence that knows all, that has always been, always will be, and you're an expression of it. Do you think it needs to be worshiped? Or is that a human quality thrown on something? And over years, we blindly bought into the nonsense. If you are all that is, you don't need anything to worship you because you don't care about conditions. You know who you are. You're the infinite. Think about that. Now the question is, can I look at you? Can you say, I am the individualization of the infinite? Whoa. That's a powerful statement. I am the individualization of the infinite. And as I am that, no one is like me, therefore I'm perfect. So then why would I want to be in a relationship? Why have I chosen to be married for going on 44 years? Why do I choose to have relationships with the people in this room? Why do I choose to have relationships with my family members? There's only one reason. It's to support my values and to grow me in the attainment of my values and my life purpose. That is the only reason we enter into relationships. And when we become really clear on who we are, what we value, what is our gift to the world, then to bring in a partner for 44 years, in my case, she has supported me and my values and everything as long as I've been around, even when I didn't know what my values were. Because trust me, there was many years I didn't know who Wolak was. I didn't know what my values were. I didn't become clear. And I don't think she did either. I don't think she was clear either. But I think there was something there that sort of held us together during I'll call them the dark ages. That's what the dark ages represents. It means when you're not enlightened. It means when you don't see the light. It means when you don't see the truth, that you are an individualization of the one, that you're whole and perfect as you are. Think about this. If you've broken up in a relationship, or you're sitting alone and you've got pain, why would you have pain? Only because you feel you're incomplete. But the second you go back and you realize the truth that I'm one with all that is, I'm unique, whole, and perfect, there can't be any pain. You've eliminated that. But you haven't eliminated the need for a relationship. Why? Because we're surrounded by Him. We're meant to be in the world. We're meant to be here. We're meant to dance together because we, through contrast, support each other. We grow each other by who we are. So I want you to know that my wife gives me lots of contrast, and that allows me to grow. But she also supports me. You see, if the contrast and the support don't seem to balance out, that's when relationships seem to fall away. If you're in a relationship where your partner is there and your whole purpose in your life is to make that partner happy, I wouldn't question the partner. I'd question myself. What is it about me that feels so shallow that I can't see the truth? What is it about me that I'm searching for something that I realize that I could never find? Why would I go down that rabbit hole? And you see, if you watch society today, everyone's going down that same rabbit hole. And that's why the divorce rate is 50% plus. That's why, forget the divorce rate. Think about all the relationships prior to divorce that are going on that end up bad. And they're not bad, they're just not serving. And I don't mean to say that you have to have a relationship for 44 years for it to be successful. You can certainly have multiple relationships that support and grow you, and maybe at a time, those relationships have served their purpose and they gently fall away, making room for what? Even a greater relationship that can come in and support and grow you at that time. So there are a lot of relationships that we're thrown into that we don't have as much control over. But here's what we do. We can limit the amount of time in them. Does anyone have a mother-in-law that they don't get along with? Am I the only one who had that? I did. And do you know how I handled that? It was real simple. I limited my time with her. If she didn't serve my values, then I'm not giving time. Why would I give time to something or someone that is not serving my greater expression and expansion? Think about that. Society would say you're being selfish, that you have to spend equal time. I say poppycock. I could say poppycock. Why? Because there's children in the room. And yet, I don't dishonor the memory of my mother-in-law because my mother-in-law taught me many great lessons in the time that we had together. We were very different, very, very different. She was Pentecostal, very controlling, her way or no way. And I'm over here, youngerly, no way or my way. But then as I found Lee, I was able to see that her Pentecostal served her. Her Pentecostal got her off of alcohol. It took her from being an alcoholic and made her sober. So there was a benefit to that belief system. And who was I to judge that? But yet I realized, here's the key, I realized that she was on her own unique journey and I didn't have to be a major player in it. But I would play to the degree that I felt was right. You see, we have that choice. Just because you're born into a family doesn't mean you owe the family anything. That's a race-conscious belief as well. You can choose. There are many families where you're brought up, and at that point that you're brought up at 18, that's the extent of what the family is. It has no other purpose. We've attached this value that it's blood for life. Not necessarily. No. I don't agree with that. And we could spend days and days and days talking about that. I look at my children. My children are unique. One's living with me right now. Who knows? Probably in a year he won't be living with me. Maybe I'll see him. Maybe I won't. I don't know. The other one lives in Denver. I see him every once in a while. But you see, they're both on their own individual journeys. And there are times we connect on that journey, but it's not my journey. It's their journey. And I'm there to support and grow him, but I'm not invested in where either of my sons go because they're unique and I can't control it. And the second I let go of that desire to control, I free myself and I free them, and now we can have a real meaningful relationship. You see, anytime there's control demanded in a relationship, it is not real. It's forced, and there will be rebellion, there will be misery. So the keys we've talked about today, it's embracing who we are, knowing who we are. And I'm going to say this, and I've said this 1,000 times in every talk. Every talk I come back to spiritual practice. Until we sit in the silence and meditate and quiet our mind of all the nonsense and the chatter and experience unconditional love, unconditional acceptance, stillness, silence, we can't know the greater me. Until we go into a form of prayer or until we go into affirmations, which are reprogramming our subconscious mind, we can't seem to let go of the illusion that we're this person, that everything has made us, and we're not taking control of our mind. So it's a daily spiritual practice that allows us to know who we are. It also then can affirm and build a commitment to what our purpose is. And then through relationships, we get supported as we live that purpose. And the greatest thing that I remember about my journey to Peru was in the course of being under the influence of ayahuasca, having no control. When I was faced with a decision, my wife's face pops up in front of me and says, "What is your belief about this? Go back to your belief." So she's thousands of miles away, but yet the image of who she is and what she represents to me comes in and shares with me and supports me as I needed that in my moment. That's why we're in relationship. It doesn't have to be a wife. It doesn't have to be a husband. It doesn't have to be a father, a mother, a son, a daughter. It can be a stranger if you're open to see the truth. You can have, I have, through meeting of 7 people in Peru, where we shared the journey we were on, one of the most intimate relationships feasible with human beings. Because we came together where we were in stillness all but 8 hours of a day, where we were in quiet meditation, affirmations, reading, other spiritual practices. We were completely separated. Then we came together and we shared this journey of allowing our subconscious minds to come up. And in the process, when I knew someone was having a struggle in the Molucca, when they were in the Molucca and I could see that they were having a real struggle, what did I do? I put love around them. I surrounded them with love. And I found out that everyone there did the same thing. In the moment when you had the control, when Mother Ayahuasca didn't have you in your own stuff, you were supporting the others there. And so when we came out of that journey, it was a love fest. No words needed to be spoken. There was no trivial talk when we got together. It was about deep, meaningful connection at the deepest of levels. Why? Because we were supporting and growing each other. What I want for you is a journey of life where you know who you are and you clearly understand your purpose and you are surrounded because you are aware enough to realize that you are supported and loved in this moment. Let's go within. I want to thank you for joining us today. I am so grateful that you took your time to watch or listen to this message. If you found this message beneficial, I would ask you to go to our website,
Once there, click on the Contribute button and experience the joy of conscious and purposeful giving. It is through your gifts that we are able to bring this message to the world. I would also ask you to please share this message with anyone you feel might benefit. Again, I want to thank you for joining me and the Agape community as together we bring joy to life.